Prime Minister reflects on vision of founding fathers at independence. Hundreds greet Marape at Tari airport. And former soldier recounts historical walk.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on Independence Day. Prime Minister James Marape has re-echoed the vision of PNG's leaders at independence from 1975 during his keynote address this morning at Independence Hill in Port Moresby as part of the official flag-raising ceremony. On the occasion of Papua New Guinea's 45th Independence Day anniversary celebrations, Prime Minister James Marape stressed on what the founding fathers of the nation dreamt for future generations. This comes at a time when PNG and the rest of the world are undergoing difficult times in light of the COVID-19 pandemic.
In a separate media conference yesterday, Prime Minister Marape said this year's independence celebrations would be different from past years due to COVID-19 pandemic measures in place. The Prime Minister said although large gatherings and celebrations were barred from occurring, independence this year should be an opportune time for personal reflection on one's contribution to nation building and sharing time in small groups to really understand the value of the day.
For the first time since 1975, celebrations will be low-key because of COVID-19. But as we have low-key celebrations, wherever you are in our country, in your districts, or in your villages, or in the settlement, or in the towns, you don't need to come together to beat kundus and song and dance for us to remember and celebrate the sovereignty of our nation and the independence of our country. Wherever you are placed in our country, take time out in a family setting, or in a village setting, or in a suburban setting. Stay, rest at home.
This morning at a very brief flag-raising ceremony under a clouded sky and with a limited crowd that gathered as early as 4 a.m., which saw the Prime Minister and other VIPs turning up earlier than the scheduled starting time. The 8th Prime Minister of the uniquely multicultural country delivered an address reflecting on the vision that the founding fathers of the nation had for future generations.
When we pull down our flag, the Australian flag, and echoing the words of Sir John Guise, when the Australian flag was pulled down for the last time, he said, "We are lowering the flag and not tearing the flag down." And when our first flag was hoisted up, September 16, 1975, our founding fathers, led by Grand Chief Sir Michael Thomas Somare, when hosting the flag up, their vision was for a prosperous nation.
Admitting that 2020 has been difficult due to the COVID-19 pandemic, resulting in a new way of life, the Prime Minister urged every citizen to work together in ensuring that this pandemic does not stop PNG from going forward politically, economically and socially.
Happy 45th years, and amidst the challenge of COVID-19 and etc., we are a nation of very determined people. We have come through crisis, we've shed tears, but we've always find moments of joy amidst our struggles. 2020 is not the full stop of the journey we are taking. 2020 and the 2020 hosting of flag and September 16 independence is just a punctuation mark in the long story and long road towards fully becoming a developed nation.
This flag represents our...
Prior to the Prime Minister's address, United Church in Papua New Guinea moderator Reverend Bernard C.I. offered a prayer for the nation and to bless the national flag before being hoisted once more as the song "This Is Our Flag" and the national anthem were sung to the tune of music by the police band. Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
Prime Minister James Marape returned to his electorate after the dawn flag raising at Independence Hill to officially reopen the Tari runway. Tari Airport was closed in April last year for the 1.6-kilometre runway to be upgraded under the ADB-funded CADIP program. Prime Minister James Marape, who flew in a chartered aircraft, arrived to a washdown and was followed by a guard of honour by Tari police. Hundreds turned up at the airport for the occasion. The Prime Minister thanked the National Airports Corporation and contractors for delivering the runway on Independence Day. He said it signifies that 45 years later, Tari Airport finally has a sealed runway that will pave way for the construction of the airport. A New Guinea subsidiary, Link PNG, is expected to resume flights to Tari on Monday with 3 direct flights a week. And we'll have more on this story and the Prime Minister's visit to Tari in tomorrow's bulletin. In September 1975, a group of 15 soldiers under the command of a young Lieutenant Jeffrey Key from Finschhafen in the Marape province walked across Papua New Guinea as part of the independence celebrations. They carried with them 2 letters, one from the district commissioner and the other from the Moem Barrack commander. The patrol was significant for the Papua New Guinea Defence Force. It was to prove the army's worth and its loyalty to the government amidst fears of internal rebellion and cutting back on the military. The trip from Wewak to Port Moresby took 46 days over 1,000 kilometres of extremely rugged terrain. Jeffrey Key went on to serve in Vanuatu and held senior commands until his retirement as a lieutenant colonel.
This is one of the few photographs of Jeffrey Key as a lieutenant in 1975 during a 46-day patrol from Wewak to Port Moresby. The soldiers he commanded were from 7 provinces who had trained for 2 months for this trip. As they prepared to leave, Key was given 2 letters, one from the district commissioner and the other from the Moem Barracks commander. He was given instructions to hand-deliver the letters to Chief Minister Michael Somare when he got to Port Moresby on Independence Day.
Time we play walk out, commanding officer talking to me, you walk out on gate on Moem, you know got car, you know got boat, you know got canoe and something. You walk out here, now you walk in on Tarama Barracks. Here. So that's why I'm exactly one something we walking.
In 1975, there were discussions around the future of the military. Seeing the experiences of other countries going through the decolonization process and the military takeovers that were happening, the government in transition was unsure if the new country should have a standing army.
People are showing government awesome Papua New Guinea Defence Force and still on loyal long government na and by stand up behind and by still stand up behind on government on time behind on independent.
Felix Wama, you are selected to walk across Papua New Guinea.
One of the men in the team was Felix Wama, who as a private was chosen to be part of the patrol. He saw how disconnected the country was amidst the lack of understanding of the political independence that was being decided.
We are prepared that independence, anything might happen. So that's the information blocking too long. Some brief come along Canberra, come along Marape, come down Marape too. So the officers from some platoon commanders, from the CEOs down to platoon commanders, all premier blossom.
The team travelled for 46 days, eventually reaching Port Moresby before Independence Day. The letters were hand-delivered, and Felix Wama was later promoted to corporal, and Jeffrey Key went on to serve in various commands of the PNG Defence Force, eventually retiring as a lieutenant colonel. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lae.
45 years on, and while the nation is still struggling for economic independence, the informal sector has and is helping many Papua New Guineans to achieve independence at that level. A woman in Lae, Frida Benny, initiated the idea of the Grassroots Mamas Group to help unemployed and widowed women earn an income through the informal sector.
This group of women are from the admin compound and are part of the grassroots mamas group. The group was initiated by Frida Benny to use the informal sector to help unemployed, widowed and single mothers to earn an income through selling arts and crafts, flower pots and Mary blouse.
Los lakain time block COVID, you saw a planting company, ilemol of all papa, all pikinini na, life is so hard. So me creating this idea, lol mama lo come out of the house, na make him legal something on them, na all ba looking money belong all.
The grassroots mamas group were selling today at an independence craft market at the admin compound. They sell their handiwork at this location at the end of every 2 months. 45 years on, and while the nation is still struggling for economic independence, this group of women are using the informal sector to strive for economic independence at an individual level.
It comes like a time of economic crisis. At least all mama must have there is always, something where you can put him out. Like, you got all talents. All mama got talents, lo use him own skills belong all, lo grow him all pot plant, some up him all colors, bilum, na put him out, so that all can sell him, na make him own money belong all.
Charlene Airy, National EMTV News, Lay.
While PNG is celebrating 45 years of political independence, the country is also saddened by the loss of one of its pioneering female politicians. The beautiful Nahau Rooney passed away yesterday. She was one of 3 women elected to the PNG Parliament in 1977. She was re-elected in 1982. During her term in Parliament, Rooney has served as Minister for Justice and later as Civil Aviation Minister in the Somare government. She was described as a trailblazing female leader in PNG. The biggest trout supplier in Papua New Guinea says the government has to help build the aquaculture industry if we are to develop an export market. Betty Higgins, who started trout farming 35 years ago in Simbu, says bad roads, no communications, infrastructure and lack of government support is continuing to the stagnant growth. She started building her business on the 16th of September 1987, marks 33 years since she began.
Betty Higgins has been trout farming for more than 20 years. On September 16, 1987, she and her late husband bought this piece of land at the foot of Mount Wilhelm and began a small vegetable business.
Tourism, we didn't have a foresight in tourism. We did not know about tourism at that time. So now we bought it and we went into agriculture in the beginning. And I started marketing produce, vegetables. She's very, very bright.
She eventually built up the business to include a trout farm, which has become the biggest in Papua New Guinea.
I was not aware of the problems that would come with the trout farm and the vegetable production. We had a land, and the land was very fertile, and we had good quality water. We looked at this and we thought, we take a risk and invest in a trout farm.
But after 35 years, she has seen very little in terms of government support for infrastructure.
I always had hope that a good government will turn the plate and we would be all right.
More than 10 kilometers of road that lead to the trout farm remain unfixed. There's no communication and the cost of business remains unsupported. At 63, she says she's hopeful and will keep working, but sees no end to the troubles facing her and nearby communities. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Lay.
You're watching National EMTV News on Independence Day. Celebrations in other centres when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. As Papua New Guineans all over the country unite to observe the 45th anniversary, Marape district in East Sepik province was no exception as the main town came alive with independence activities.
Activities to commemorate the country's 45th independence started on the 10th of September for Marape district. With the District Development Authority in charge of the festivities, the small agricultural town kicked off with sporting activities for both the young and old. Our Lady of Lords Primary School became the showground for the diverse cultures of Papua New Guinea. Children dressed in their different traditional attire, representing the 22 provinces of Papua New Guinea, swayed their grass skirts while others showcased their provincial colors. Local member John Simon was in the district to celebrate with his people. He spoke of unity, noting the importance of having to include children who were the future of this country. The highlight of the show was the DDA's initiative to invite local gospel band PTUIF. It was surely a showstopper as hundreds all over the district turned up for 2 nights of musical concert. The gospel band had arrived in Marape earlier this week and is running a music seminar which so far has seen a lot of interest from youths. Meanwhile, sporting activities will end this week with 24 teams for men and 11 teams in the soccer challenge and 10 men's and 13 women's team in the volleyball competition. Shamin Poreambeb, National EMTV News.
It's been 45 years since PNG gained independence and 77 years since Lae was liberated from Japanese occupation during World War II. Today, while many independence celebrations were hosted around Lae City, a small gathering was hosted at the Lae War Cemetery to commemorate the liberation of Lae and the reopening of the war cemetery.
The streets in Lae were coloured with residents wearing their PNG colours today, and some were even in their traditional attire, like these Minyamya women and children. But while much of the hype focuses on the country's 45th birthday, the 16th of September also marks a significant day in Marape's war history. This was the liberation of Lae from Japanese forces during World War II. To commemorate this event, a small gathering was hosted at the Lae War Cemetery.
And of course, Independence Day is even more significant here in Lae, as today marks the 77th anniversary of the conclusion of the Battle of Lae in World War II.
A very important occasion for liberating Lae, and it was one step, which I think is part of the story of PNG's independence.
Lae and Salamaua were captured by the Japanese during World War II. The Allied forces launched a series of actions to recapture these areas, and one of them was the later Salamaua campaign. The Allied forces made an amphibious landing east of Lae, and paratroopers were flown to Nadzap. By the 16th of September, the Allied forces entered Lae and the Japanese withdrew. This was 77 years ago today, marking the liberation of Lae.
It's a big day when we remember all our young men on all sides, the Australians, the Allies, the Indians, everyone who fought for liberation today in Lae. Without those young lives, we would not be here today in celebrating our own Independence Day without bloodshed.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Lae.
The deferral of the National Housing and Population Census to July next year now gives enough time for the National Statistical Office to better prepare for the census. Acting National Statistician John Egitoy says they are still waiting for government funding to help them in their preparation. NSO has been urged to provide quality statistics as reference for national development in the next 10 years.
Speaking during the launching of the NSO Corporate Plan, National Planning Minister Sam Basil announced the deferral of the National Population and Housing Census. The census was deferred to July 2021 due to funding shortfalls and restriction under the COVID-19 pandemic. This now gives enough time for NSO to better prepare for the census.
In the NSO NEC Edition number 194/2020 of the 24th June 2020, referred to earlier NEC approval, the deferral of the census, slated for this year to July next year, 2021.
The National Population and Housing Census is the enumeration of the total population to provide data on the number of people, which is conducted every 10 years. The statistics provide reference and drive socio-economic development of the country. Minister Sam Basil says the 2021 census will be conducted with all of government approach. The National Statistics Office were urged not to fail this census, but provide quality statistics.
The bottom line for all of us is that we dare not to fail. We must not fail to deliver this very important planning and development tool, statistical data, collected once every 10 years, and we must not sacrifice quality and accuracy either.
With the national census deferred, more needs to be done to better prepare for the census. However, funding is a challenge due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The National Statistics Office is calling on the government for the release of over 70 million kina as per NEC decision.
This funding is required immediately, so work on procurement, printing and delivery, publicity, training and structural listing can be progressed without delay. So we are well prepared for the actual census exercise next year.
More publications will be made on social media and other mediums regarding the national census. The people were further urged to be enumerated, which will go a long way in national development.
I encourage all people living in the country to be enumerated so that the data collected will correctly inform policy and decision makers to make deliberate policies and decisions to support the development aspirations of Papua New Guinea.
Rayon Lakingu, National, MTV News.
A social problem that continues to hinder the movement of the general public, specifically at traffic lights and intersection, is the loitering of young juveniles, an unruly behavior highlighted by the NCD Central Commander Anthony Wagambi Jr. He has directed the Metropolitan Superintendent to ensure there is police visibility around these areas to stop loiterers who frequently harass the general public. The commander called on other relevant state agencies to enforce the Lukautim Pikinini Act, which protects juveniles who are involved in these sort of activities.
Our units have been directed now, the zone commanders and acting Metsup, they will remove them from those areas. They will be removed. Every day they'll be removed during peak hours, so they do not stand around there and beg. And because when they beg, some of them may be genuine, but others, they go and they lead on to other things like opening vehicles, stealing from within the vehicles, stealing mobile phones from the passing vehicles who are stopped at the red light, harassing females. This responsibility of juveniles does not fall upon police alone. We are calling on the Department of Community Development to enforce the Lukautim Pikinini Act. These juveniles, there are procedures to deal with them. We have to bring them in. Police will assist to bring them in and profile them, find out where do they live, why are they on the streets like this, are they homeless, or is it parental neglect or guardian neglect? And then that's from the Lukautim Pikinini Act will take effect under the Community Development Department to ensure that they find a pathway for these kids.
And Trukai Sports is next. Here's Fidli Sukina with the details.
Yes, Helen, coming up in Trukai Sports, news on POM RFL women's competition, and in NSL, players from Gulf Komara FC disciplined.
Trukai Sports.
Good night and welcome to Trukai Sports. It has been tough for the women in the Port Moresby Rugby Football League, with the first two rounds of the competition ending in forfeits. But to their luck, the third round has seen some matches, but it looks like there will be some changes in the draws going forward. The Port Moresby Rugby Football League season started 3 weeks ago, but for the first 2 weeks of the competition, the women had no matches because of forfeits, acclaimed as having the most consistent women's competition and the majority of the women in the national team, the Osage PNG Orchids. The competition faced a major hiccup. This is mainly due to the prolonged sidelining of the competition due to COVID-19.
From round 1 to round 2, we have seen just forfeits, no women matches. That's a certain, but we have picked up. In round 3 this weekend, we've seen 2 matches so far, which is an improvement from the past 2 weekends and the enthusiasm of clubs and their respective women divisional players.
Despite this, the men's competition seems to be doing well.
To the contrast, the men's competition, both A grade and under 20, is in full swing.
The competition has been shortened and this will affect game schedules if the forfeits continue, so the option is to have a restructure of the draws for the rest of the season, to have those women's teams not able to participate sidelined.
To assess and view the pattern of the women competition games, where the last 2 weekends we have not seen one game actually played, only forfeits. We have seen improvements, so that will be put forward to the board and the administration and the delegates. They will make a decision, and what I hear is that they will rearrange just the women competition draws, so that we should not see any more forfeits. Only those who are actively coming to forfeit and who are actively played will have that draw going forward. But for the men competition, both under 20 and A grade, we will follow the original master draw.
With the competition slowly picking up pace, there has been support for player incentives, and Marape says a sponsor has come on board to give cash to women and men who perform well in their matches.
The player incentive. So the sponsor goes by the name of FTR, and we'd like to acknowledge on behalf of the Port Moresby Rugby League Board and administration and everybody, all our 14 clubs, we want to say thank you to FTR for the initiative to come and support our young people.
The Papua New Guinea Football Association Disciplinary Committee has made a review of the incident which involved Gulf Comara trio David Hauka, Kila Numa and Ilagi Geno during the round 15 match of the NSL on September 5th against Hekari United. Disciplinary action has been taken with the incident which involved the referee being subjected to threatening behavior by the trio.
Papua New Guinea's National Oil and Gas.
On the 5th of September 2020, following the round 15 match between Hekari United and Gulf Comara, the referee reported an incident which took place where violent and threatening behavior was directed to him. Gulf Comara trio David Hauka, Kila Numa and Ilagi Geno have been handed a 1-match suspension each and fined following their violent and threatening behavior toward referee David Yareboinen.
Kila Numa, he might receive a red card though. No hands on the referee.
Following the opening of disciplinary proceedings, the PNG FA Disciplinary Committee analyzed all match reports at its disposal. The committee also viewed the video footage of the same incident, and on the basis of the report and match footage, a decision was made. Goalkeeper David Hauka ran from his goal line past the 18-yard box to threaten and harass the referee, while Ilagi Geno and Kila Numa used force by pushing the referee on the upper extremities of his body. As a result, the committee found Hauka, Numa and Geno breaching Article 55 offensive behavior, Article 57 threats and Article 58 force of the PNG FA Disciplinary Code and Code of Ethics. Hauka is hereby suspended for 1 match and a fine of 1,000 kina. Geno and Numa also face the same suspension, however will pay a fine of 2,000 kina each. In accordance with Article 58 of the PNG FA Disciplinary Code and Code of Ethics, provided that should the fine referred to is not paid at the end of the suspension period, the suspension shall continue until the said fine is paid in full. The decision is final, and should the 3 players intend to appeal, they must lodge an appeal in writing within 14 days. And that story ends Trukai Sports. Helen will be back with the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. Bye for now.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for this afternoon and tonight. A few showers, then fine in Kerma, cloudy weather, then fine later in Port Moresby, mostly fine weather in Daru, rain showers in Alatau and Popondita. In the Mamasa region, cloudy with occasional rain showers in Lae, a few showers, and then partly cloudy later in Medang, rain, then cloudy later in Wewak, and showers followed by a cloudy weather in Whanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, some showers in Lorengau, showers in Kavieng, rain, showers easing to fine partly cloudy weather in Kokopo and Rabaul, cloudy with rain showers, then fine in Kimbe and thundery rain, easing to fine cloudy periods in Buka. And in the Highlands region, mostly fine, then afternoon showers in Mount Hagen, a few showers, then fine, although partly cloudy in Goroka and Kundiawa, rain showers easing to a fine cloudy day in Mendi and Wabeg.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that ends our bulletin on Independence Day, Wednesday, September 16, 2020. A reminder, we end our Independence Special, My Province, My Country, with Prime Minister James Marape. Reporters Adelaide Zurix-Curry and Dennis Aurora sat down for a chat with the Prime Minister. The program starts right after the news. From all of us here at EMTV, happy Independence. Good night.